The dude was allegedly spotted in Uruguay driving around in a Ferrari, which is something I will never.
What the fuck? Bro, just because you're in another country doesn't mean niggas aren't trying to find you. He was internationally wanted. Oh, what's up? Oh, what's up? What up, it's Maja back here in another video. Today we're going to be reacting to a video by Tozy. The video is going to be on YouTuber sentenced to 45,000 years. Okay, it might be over exaggerated for the goddamn, title so it can get clicks, but I wonder what the hell this nigga did, bro. It's always some fucking YouTuber doing some crazy shit. You would think this nigga would probably kill somebody. Maybe he killed somebody. Well, none other. Let's just see. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and click the hype button.
YouTube rapper made over $100 million selling virtual farm animals that apparently had a better investment strategy than half a crypto. Yeah, this is definitely one of those stories that I'm sitting here like, how did this?
So basically he's a YouTube rapper that just sold some shit, and I guess the fucking government probably didn't like him making money.
Happen? Why did this happen? I can't believe that it happened. I just have so many questions about it. As I was researching this video, I'm sitting here like, kind of in disbelief, because it kind of sounds a little bit less like financial crime and more like some weird Black Mirror episode. Because the thing this guy did, he didn't rob a bank. No, he didn't hack some massive institution or company. No, he allegedly convinced over 100,000 people to invest real money into virtual cows inside of a mobile game, and he somehow turned that into one of the biggest fraud scandals in modern Turkish history. Okay, so
okay, so it's fraud. I was like with him until I heard the word fraud. I kind of didn't see nothing wrong with it, because you convincing over like a lot of people, which these people are really just stupid. They invest their money into a lot of things. They invest their money into things that could just literally try to make the money. People are too desperate to make fucking money nowadays. And look into a YouTuber, yeah, I'm calling all content creators. Like, you look into your favorite content creator for some type of quick cheese is never always ending up as a good idea, because they're always going to end up scamming you, or it's going to end up with some fucking rug pull shit. It's been the classic thing since going on 10 years, since the fucking 2015s and advancing to the 2016s. Like, nigga.
Mehmet Aydın, a Turkish entrepreneur and former rapper. Yes, the international fugitive accused of running a massive Ponzi scheme was also, I guess, a YouTube rapper. But Aydın reportedly uploaded rap music online under the name of Ego Man, which in hindsight might be a little bit of a subtle hint that he would have the ego to, run $100 million Ponzi. But I guess it's safe to say the music videos are just a little bit cursed. But yeah, there was a tweet that said, I would definitely trust that guy with $145 million. You see, anything is possible in life. Apparently, this guy can steal over $100 million. And during his YouTube rap career, he was also working as a dishwasher.
Honestly, I wouldn't dare fucking like try to fucking listen to other like language rap, because like I'm not gonna be able to understand it. So that doesn't like resonate with me. So I can't really say like the videos or rap are shitty, because I'm not gonna understand what he's saying.
In Bursa. So the dude wasn't some Silicon Valley billionaire creating this cow token, to put it lightly. This was actually a young guy in his 20s who saw an opportunity, to put it lightly. Because back in 2016, Aydın launched something called Çiftlik Bank, or Farm Bank. And honestly, it kind of looked like a Turkish version of Farmville. You had cartoon cows, chickens, and sheep. It had little farms with cutesy graphics. But the big difference is people weren't farming for fun. No, they were investing real money.
The idea is simple. You start and manage your own farm. You use gold as a currency to buy animals like chickens, goat, cattle, and bees. You earn cash back by selling the honey, eggs, and milk that your animals produce. You can then use the profits from these sales to buy more livestock, and so on. You can also pay real money to buy virtual gold and run your farm. And that's not just some pay-to-win model. If your farm does well and you make some proper virtual gold, you can exchange your virtual proceeds back into real money.
So the idea was users could buy virtual livestock and farming.
This even sounds like a scam. I'm so tight-knit with my money, I just do not trust it on any type of platform, bro. Nowadays, with betting being so fucking risky, unless I know that I'm going to win, I'm not gonna trust that shit. But like fucking scams like this, it literally just it's literally like, I feel like it's literally inside the title itself. As soon as somebody starts yapping about all this, of course, the general audience has already caught on to what, these fucking creators have been doing. The crypto scams and all that shit have been a thing of the whole, past 10 years, and people are tired of it. So they, already know they stopped falling for that shit. But regular people on the net, they think this is going to make some money. I feel sad for them.
Equipment inside of the app. And according to the company, that money would actually go towards funding actual agricultural projects and livestock farms in the real world. And in return, players were promised a portion of the profits. And at the time, the pitch actually hit people from multiple angles. Turkey's agriculture sector was struggling, people wanted investment opportunities, and I guess the app looked modern and tech-driven. Then I guess the most important one, the company worked really hard to make itself look real. So it wasn't just some random mobile app sitting in the app store with fake reviews. No, FarmBank created physical show farms people could actually visit in person. And they even opened branded stores selling products connected to the company. Honestly, my question is, how did this guy get the startup capital to do this? Because I feel like it would be quite complicated to set all this up on a dishwasher salary. But regardless, because of all these demos, investors could...
Oh, so if there were like promises behind it. So, I mean, I could probably get why people fell for this in like the sense now. So since I'm learning about, what Atazi just said about like all of this, people like them having like a poor, what was that, the water thing? I forgot. The agriculture or something. Sorry, I was listening, but I just forgot about that part. But I can get why people fell for this, essentially, because they thought they were, helping the world out, helping their country out.
Walk around and physically see the animals connected to this business. Essentially, the dude LARPed as a farmer. And the scam, I guess in a way, was kind of genius, at least in the most evil way possible, because once you give someone something physical to look at, it's a lot easier to fool. And especially in, crypto 2016, when you have something physical tied to it and the investors can see it, it feels less like magic internet money and more like a real thing. Except it wasn't, because the numbers behind this thing got insane very fast, because within a year and a half, FarmBank exploded across Turkey. And reports varied about this, but people were saying somewhere between 75,000 and 130,000 people actually invested into this. So that's crazy. And some reports were claiming there were hundreds of thousands more users just playing the game without even investing. And a whole bunch of estimates are saying it was about $131 million deposited into this. But others are saying $250 million or even $300 million in the equivalent of Turkish lira. So regardless, 130 million to 300 million. This is one crazy heist. But of course, to get that many people involved, it kind of operated like a Ponzi to begin with, because at first people are actually getting paid. So, the new money seemed like it was paying the people who got in first, and then it just kept recycling like that. So players were reportedly saying they were earning money from their virtual livestock, which then made the whole thing feel legitimate. So people then started telling friends and family that the app actually worked. And once people started saying, no, seriously, I made money from this, people started dogpiling in. And of course, the app itself encouraged consistent reinvestment. So users weren't just like buying animals once. No, they also had to spend money on upkeep. So they had to do, supplies, storage, and maintenance tied to the hypothetical livestock that was tied to their money in the virtual.
Jesus Christ. I could not fall for this, bro. Like I said, I'm so tight knit with my money, and like if I'm not just investing one time into something and that's not doing anything, I'm not about to do that again, and I'm gonna feel wronged. But like just to keep like something like this and get it started, and then you have to like do upkeep and stuff. You have to do like upkeeps in like the virtual world like that. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that shit, honestly. That shit's so fucking crazy. But literally, I can get why people fucking fell for this, because they essentially thought they were just helping somebody out.
Currency. This is so crazy. But honestly, though, it kind of sounds a lot like some of these like 2021 NFT scams. Regardless, FarmBank marketed itself as innovative.
Oh, in a way, this kind of sounds like what Stake and all these online casinos are doing right now. They're paying all these fucking social media creators to gamble, and they're probably providing them with the money. Oh, well, I'm pretty sure they're providing them with the fucking money if they're getting sponsored. They're providing them with loading their accounts with like fake money just to, gamble and promote it to the, the little dorks online that probably actually really believe this shit. And, that's how this shit probably go.
and the company promoted itself as this futuristic blend of gaming, agriculture, and investment. And it was trying to like position itself under the narrative of we're helping Turkey revolutionize its farming industry. And a whole bunch of people were clearly on board because you have major Turkish TV personalities and celebrities promoting the app publicly. Because Farmbank branding started showing up in real stores and real products carried the company logo. And at one point, Mehmet Aydın was even claiming the company would help finance one of the largest dairy farm projects in Europe, which is just such a bizarre, startup promise that, hey, in 2016, I could see how that almost kind of worked. Or, well, actually it did kind of work for a little bit at least, because if you just put the right buzzwords around a bold enough project, it seems like you can raise some money, even though it's illegitimate. But I guess behind all the branding and hype, the cracks in the foundation were already forming, because eventually people started trying to withdraw their money, and suddenly things got weird. So by late 2017, complaints started piling up from users who said payments were slowing down or stopping up entirely. And this usually means that, we're at the end phase. We're at the end game of the Ponzi schemes when the payments stop, or well, the start of the end game at least. Because the scheme only works as long as new money's flowing in. So if people start saying, uh-oh, we can't get our cash out, that pretty much halts all the new money coming in. That's when Turkish regulators started paying a lot more attention after growing complaints from users who claimed they weren't receiving profits anymore. So authorities began investigating into this company, and suddenly Farmbank's exciting image, just collapsed overnight. So after Farmbank started to collapse, Mehmet Aydın's response to all this pushback was quite odd, to put it lightly, because instead of calming investors down, reports say he sold all the shares in the company and started backing away from the business right as panic was at its peak. That's kind of like
basically the Logan Paul move, bro. I'm pretty sure Logan Paul probably did this in like the recent times right now. He didn't do that back in the day because I think he wasn't really into this shit. He was in the forest discovering shit, you know what I mean? But he essentially, I thought this was like recent news, but I think he probably got sentenced recently. That's what I think Atazi must be going to be getting into. But like, this was like the end of 2016, and they finally started deciding to see, this shit wasn't legitimate, and like you couldn't even get your money around 2017. I think around 2017, a lot of shit was getting exposed, bro.
the financial equivalent of you're sitting on a plane, intense turbulence hits, and suddenly you see the pilot leave the cockpit in a parachute, open the door, and jump out. Yeah, it's not a good sign. Well, then in early 2018, Farmbank announced they would stop accepting new users and suspended profit payments. And authorities eventually seized company assets and launched a criminal investigation into what prosecutors described as a massive fraud operation involving organized criminal activity and money laundering. And then Mehmet Aydın disappeared. He was just gone. According to reports, he fled Turkey with enormous amounts of money while thousands of investors was left essentially empty-handed. And somehow, despite being international wanted, the dude was allegedly spotted in Uruguay driving around in a Ferrari, which is something I will never.
What the fuck? Bro, just because you're in another country doesn't mean niggas aren't trying to find you. He was internationally wanted. Like, bro, the boldness with some of these criminals and some of these influencers would just be baffling me, man. Like, bro, you're being internationally hunted and your first thing is just to be going casual and just hanging out and out in the open, bro. Nigga, I would have used all of that money to change my appearance around, extra hire some like black market type of niggas, suck all the fat out of me or something, because this nigga is fat. I'm sorry, but yeah, this nigga is fat. Do some reconstruction surgery on your face. Like, do something. But like, you're out trying to fucking party and shit in a Ferrari flexing. Hey, well, they don't like make a list of dumbest criminals in the world for nothing.
Understand, because imagine you scam people for millions of dollars and you now desperately need to lay low. Why would you ever want to drive a bright, loud car to bring as much attention as possible to you? But obviously, because of this genius move, Interpol got involved, because people suddenly were like, wait a minute, who's that young guy in the Ferrari here in Uruguay? We've never seen him before. So reports claim that victims became so furious that bounty posters were starting to offer hundreds of thousands of dollars for information just about this guy. So that's not good either. So again, why are you driving around a Ferrari then? What he really should have done was the 3 years in Dagestan bit. I guess that meme didn't really exist at that time, but still, he should have just vanished. Bro could have became a real farmer in rural Mongolia. It would be pretty hard to find him.
Nigga, no, for real. This nigga could have like went out and bought his own land and nobody wouldn't have fucking took a second guess. He could have just lived his life and it could have been smooth. But nowadays, people are just into just buying stupid shit and flexing online about shit. This is how like a lot of criminals and a lot of like money launderers literally. Oh, and a whole bunch of these people that be on Instagram flexing and you don't know where they got this money from. It's from scams. And like they will not just sit their ass down and just like go do something, man. Nigga, I wouldn't dare do this, but like I would come up with a better ass plan than this. Like I would just go buy some land in a far, far away land. I would just be sending money to my family and all of that, you know, doing what I can do to help them out and but be in distance. I can't be seen again because they're gonna be haunting me for life. But nigga, this is just so. But wait. On the other hand, they didn't even know about his presence because like they didn't connect that nigga to that. It's only like this nigga like being known around the area and driving a loud ass car, like he said, and oh my god, this guy's dumb. They didn't connect him to it. I just realized that. Fuck, this guy's dumb.
I don't actually know. I'm talking nonsense. But in my head, it would be harder to find him if he just laid low and was like a shepherd in Mongolia. But I guess that would be a boring life for him, which again is why if you are in it for the money, absolutely do not scam. Why would you ever scam? Because if you are a person who is doing everything for the money, you clearly want to go enjoy that money. And if you are a scammer and you suddenly have Interpol after you, you can't really spend too much of that money, especially on the flashy Instagram type stuff. But meanwhile, you have like 100,000 people essentially having to tell their families that, yeah, so I lost our life savings because we invested in a cartoon cow app. That's a rough conversation to have. But for years, he stayed on the run while the stories around him just kept getting stranger and stranger. And some reports claimed that he was hiding in Uruguay, and others were saying no, he was actually in Brazil. And there were even rumors involving some offshore accounts, cryptocurrency transfers, luxury properties, yachts, girlfriends, fake identities, and so on. But meanwhile, back in Turkey, the legal case just kept growing, and dozens of people connected to Farmbank were investigated or charged. So prosecutors accused Aydın and others of running a criminal organization, fraud, and money laundering. And apparently at one stage, Turkish prosecutors were seeking over 75,000 years in prison for him. So they really wanted him because, you know, that you would think that would be like 74,900 years overkill. But I guess while all this was happening, Aydın was still insisting that he never intended to scam anyone. Because in videos and court statements, he repeatedly claimed that he was also a victim and argued that the business had simply collapsed after authorities froze assets and disrupted operations. Which I guess is one way to frame disappearing internationally with millions of dollars. But in 2021, after more than 3 years on the run, something unexpected happened. He surrendered. Aydın walked into the Turkish consulate in Sao Paulo, Brazil, turned himself in, and days later, he was extradited back to Turkey, where he was immediately detained and brought before authorities. And the footage of him returning is like slightly surreal because this wasn't some like mysterious criminal mastermind in a suit. No, this was just some 29-year-old former rapper named Tunçuk. Did I pronounce that right? Tunçuk.
Bro, I thought this would be a story of like them catching him on the run, and I probably should just like let it play out before I like added like my total opinion for the other one. Well, what he said before. But like I'm up here like saying like why didn't he just stay on the run? He did stay on the run, but like he was not being smooth about it. They would have never found me if I was doing that shit, bro. And if I had all that money backing me, fuck yeah, I would have been out of here. But the Turkish, this nigga like turning himself in, that's a fucking surprise.
Tunçuk. I don't know, but apparently it translates to little chubby boy. How are you going to be a rapper then go to prison and your nickname is little chubby boy? And then of course on top of that, rob 100,000 people of their life savings. He's just not setting himself up well here. But once he was in prison, Aydın started giving interviews and making statements that sounded completely disconnected from the entire situation. Because at one point while facing tens of thousands of years in prison, he gave an interview basically talking about how comfortable prison life was. I'm not joking. He described his prison cell like someone reviewing an Airbnb. He talked about having a TV, tea, coffee, wardrobes, regular meals, and even preferred Turkish prison over Turkish student dorm rooms, which they gotta fix that if that's true. And in quote, he said the prison meals were 1,000 times better. So again, if that's true, they absolutely have to fix that. Like, come on, we can't be incentivizing prison over studying. That can't be good. But imagine being the victim here. You were fooled because you invested in some virtual cows, and now the guy who sold you the virtual cows is now on TV saying, honestly, the prison food's pretty good. That would not be an ideal predicament to be in. But then on top of that, he said if he could go back in time, he would do it all again without without any mistakes. So instead of, oh, I regret hurting people, he was like, I should have made sure the scheme could have gone on for longer. I don't know. But then you have one of the more interesting legal defenses I've heard, because authorities charged him for his use of the word bank because he called his company Farm Bank. And that wasn't licensed as an actual bank. So Aydın's defense was basically like, well, the word bank.
Loki, that's a whole spit in the face, bro. You fall for this shit and just know there's not like a legit person around this shit. And he eventually gets caught, and then he just says he doesn't regret it and he enjoys all this. I don't understand how would you enjoy prison over, you know, you having all of that money and you could have did something with it. I mean, I guess they were probably like tracking his banking type of shit. There's way more money. I mean, there's way more like ways like people do in shows with like offshore accounts or something like that. Well, I guess he just wasn't that smart, I presume.
Can also mean a park bench. I don't know where he's going with that. And no, I'm not making that up. He reportedly argued that maybe he meant a literal bench and people just misunderstood him. Meanwhile, prosecutors kept building the case against him, and the numbers attached to the scandal just became more and more ridiculous because thousands of plaintiffs were named in this, and authorities claimed that hundreds of millions of lira had flowed through his operation. Investigators also accused him of transferring huge amounts of money into personal and offshore accounts. And at one stage, reports said that Turkish prosecutors wanted more.
So he did have offshore accounts. Okay. Maybe the offshore accounts were still detectable and everything, you know, like technology is advancing and investigators are getting way ahead and way better than this, especially the government. But why didn't you I would have just stayed on the run, bro.
More than 88,000 years in prison for Mehmet. 88,000 years in prison. How is that worse than the 75,000 years in prison? There's no difference between 88,000 years and 75,000 years. Well, hey, I guess they're just really stacking them on now. But eventually, after years of hearings, investigations, extraditions, and international headlines, the court finally made its decision. In February 2025, a Turkish court officially sentenced Mehmet Aydın and his brother, Fatih Aydın, to 45,376 years and 6 months in prison. They really had to tack on the 6 months there. So there's a lesson here. Don't sell virtual cows claiming that you're a bank. And
all right. I mean, yeah, I get the moral lesson is just don't scam people. But like, god damn, this nigga's not gonna live for that long. No one's gonna live for that fucking long, honestly. I don't get the point of like, I mean, I guess like, you know, adding life sentences, you know, consecutive sentences, years in prison on top of something, you know, will kind of like make the public kind of happy or whatever. But like realistically, there's just no way nobody's like living that long, honestly. Yeah, even being paroled, bro, there's a huge chance of that. Hell nah. But like, this is a wild ass story. This guy is pretty stupid. Not just staying on the run, but like, I bet he regrets that now. He says the prison food's great, but I mean, maybe he's probably living like a kingpin in there or something. Probably not. But hey, man, go check out the original video if y'all want to, and discuss in the comments of what you would do with all of that money, and what would you do if you were on the run from the Turkish police or just police in general. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We are on the road to 650.
He was the best guy around. What about the people he murdered? What murder?